side.
I got it.
There's no involvement.
Yeah.
I just gave you a name. That's all. Hey, man, y'all should bring in Paul Pierce. Y'all do what y'all want to with it, and y'all make that decision.
All right.
Right? I mean, that's really what it is. Because you are not going to hire a head coach with LeBron James on your...
If the fans are mad, vote better. 50% is yours.
You could have the international starting five and then the dual American.
LeBron's crazy moment with coach captured. The Lakers owner gives him a shocking warning. The camera caught what it wasn't supposed to. In a single, unfiltered moment during a critical timeout, the unthinkable rift between LeBron James and his coach erupted into public view, revealing a level of tension that threatens to implode the entire Lakers season. But the real explosion happened behind closed doors, where the owner, pushed to her limit, delivered a stunning ultimatum that changes everything. This is the story of the confrontation that crossed the line and the warning that could end a king's reign in Los Angeles. The atmosphere was electric, and not in a good way. A pivotal late-season game, the kind that separates contenders from the play-in tournament, was slipping away. The Lakers, locked in a brutal physical battle, were down 1 point with 90 seconds left on the clock. The tension was a living thing, thick enough to choke on. Head coach Darvin Ham signaled frantically for a timeout, his voice already hoarse from a night of shouting over the roaring crowd. As the players trudged to the bench, the national broadcast cameras did what they always do. They invaded the huddle. Millions of viewers leaned in, expecting to see a moment of strategic clarity, a rallying cry. What they witnessed instead was the unraveling of a franchise's facade. Coach Ham, kneeling on the hardwood, was tapping his clipboard with a marker, outlining a set play designed to get a quick 2. LeBron James stood at the edge of the circle, towering over the seated players, his chest still heaving. He wasn't listening. His eyes were fixed on the court they had just left, his jaw clenched. As Ham finished, pointing to a spot on the board, LeBron's head snapped toward him. The audio was a muddle of arena noise, but the body language was a scream. LeBron took an aggressive step into the coach's space, his hand cutting through the air. Enhanced audio and expert lip readers would later assemble the damning exchange. LeBron's words, "That's garbage, they're expecting that. We go here." He pointed violently to a different spot on the imaginary court. Ham stood up, meeting the challenge, his own finger jabbing back at the board. "This is the call. We run it." Then came the moment that would break the internet. LeBron James, the leader of the Los Angeles Lakers, the man whose voice is supposed to be the final word in any huddle, did the unthinkable. With a final searing look of disgust, he physically turned his back on his head coach. He presented his shoulders and the name on his jersey to Ham, staring out at the crowd, while the coach, visibly stunned and deflated, finished addressing the remaining players around their superstar's silent, protesting form. The play was run. It failed. The game was lost, but the final score was irrelevant. That 5-second clip, "LeBron turns his back," was no longer about basketball. It was a stark, visual document of mutiny. It showed the world that the Lakers captain had abandoned his post, and in doing so had publicly declared that the head coach's authority was null and void. For an organization built on the sacred pillars of the Laker way, legacy, and respect, it was an unforgivable breach. The timeout had ended, but the seismic crisis had just been triggered, and it was now rushing straight toward the owner's office.
Happy International Women's Day to the woman that is going to probably approve my $170 million 2-year contract next year.
Yeah.
So now the ladies were up and
They ain't like that shit.
At all.
At all. Why are you keying with these girls?
Racial. It's a racial thing.
Why? It was more than just racial.
When you have your star player who is the first one at the gym and the last one to leave, it sets the bar for everybody else. He made my job so much easier because of his leadership.
The viral clip did not just trend online, it detonated inside the Lakers facility. The morning after the loss, the atmosphere at the training center was described as funereal. Players went through workouts with heads down, avoiding eye contact. The coaching staff was shell-shocked. But the epicenter of the quake was on a different floor entirely, in the executive suite of majority owner and governor Jeanie Buss. A meeting was called that was not on any public schedule. It was urgent, private, and involved only two people, Jeanie Buss and LeBron James. This was not a debrief, this was a summit, and the sole item on the agenda was the sovereignty of the franchise itself. Sources with direct knowledge of the meeting's dynamic describe Jeanie Buss as having moved past anger into a state of cold, devastating clarity. The public humiliation of her head coach was not a basketball strategy dispute. It was an insult to the institution her father built and a direct challenge to her authority as its steward. The Lakers family brand, which she has fiercely protected, had been publicly torn apart by its most prominent member. The conversation was brief, blunt, and without the diplomatic cushion that usually surrounds superstar interactions. According to insiders, Buss delivered a message with 3 unambiguous, shocking pillars. First, she laid down an unequalable law on conduct. She stated that such a public display of disrespect toward any member of the organization would never be tolerated again. "This is not how we operate. This is not the Laker way," she is reported to have said. The line was not just drawn, it was etched in stone. The head coach, regardless of name or resume, carries the authority of the owner, and that authority was now non-negotiable. The time for passive-aggressive body language and behind-the-scenes maneuvering was over. Second, in a stunning recalibration of power, Buss made it clear that the unspoken guarantee of LeBron's indefinite future with the Lakers was now void. She framed it not as a threat of immediate trade, but as a sobering reinstatement of reality. We cannot build a winning culture, a sustainable culture, if the foundation is public disrespect, she is said to have conveyed.
That require a little extra context and some takes here and there, but mostly I just like laughing at the idiots who run.
I love this story because I love this story because other than the whole like you should have never been born thing, which is a crazy thing to say to another.
When he signed with the Lakers, there were some people that, put up murals and some.
Jeanie Buss's shocking warning was not a heat-of-the-moment outburst. It was a strategic, cold-blooded calculation forced upon her by a crisis threatening the very foundation of the franchise. To grasp the weight of her ultimatum, you must see the ledger she was staring at. The most immediate and devastating cost was to the Lakers brand itself, an asset worth billions built on legacy, prestige, and the mythology of the Laker way. LeBron's public act of defiance wasn't just a coaching disagreement. It was a sledgehammer to that carefully curated image. It transformed the Lakers from a hollowed institution into just another viral, dysfunctional soap opera. For a business that sells mystique and history, this was an existential crisis. Buss's warning was a direct move to protect the franchise's core commercial value. She was drawing a line to stop the Lakers brand from being permanently redefined by chaos and disrespect. Simultaneously, she was facing a profound philosophical choice: dynasty or dictatorship. LeBron's tenure, while delivering a championship, has increasingly resembled a benevolent dictatorship where his preferences heavily influence roster moves, coaching, and the organizational atmosphere. The viral Timeout was the ultimate expression of that dynamic. Buss had to decide if she was building a sustainable culture that could outlast one superstar, a true dynasty like the Spurs or Warriors, or if she was merely renting out her franchise to a brilliant but all-consuming force. Her warning was a declaration that she chose the former. She was reasserting that the Lakers as an institution are bigger than any one player, even LeBron James, and that its culture of respect is non-negotiable. Finally, there was the dreaded precedent. If Buss did nothing, she would be implicitly endorsing LeBron's behavior. This would send a message to every future Laker, from Anthony Davis to the last player on the bench, that disrespecting the coach and the chain of command carries no real consequence if you're important enough. It would cripple the authority of any coach she hired in the future.
Nah, the bug is real. I didn't know nothing about it. People said if you ever get into the game and the bug grab you, it's over with. And I definitely have it, man. I literally started playing in July for the first time in my life. And I love everything about it. I think the best thing that I've gotten out of it, besides like how competitive and hard it is and the mental challenge, which I love. Anything that's mentally challenging, I love. But how just...
Some people say that you're destroying the player loyalty to the teams and the fans.
Player loyalty to what? If I could be traded in the middle of the night.
In the wake of the owner's stunning mourning, the basketball world held its breath, waiting for LeBron James' countermove. Would there be a fiery social media post, a demand for a trade, a public apology? Instead, they were met with a silence more profound and strategic than any words could be. LeBron's social media accounts, usually a bustling hub of business, family, and motivation, went dark. He offered no comment to the press scrum waiting for him after the next practice. He did not release a statement through his agent. This was not the silence of shame or defeat. It was the heavy, deliberate quiet of a grand master who has been put in check and is now calculating every possible move 10 steps ahead. This silence served multiple, powerful purposes. Primarily, it was a masterclass in narrative starvation. Any response, defensive, aggressive, or conciliatory, would have fed the media beast and kept the story on the front page for weeks. By saying nothing, LeBron drained the drama of its essential fuel. The story was forced to rely solely on the original clip and Buss's warning, and without new reactions from its central character, the fire began to die down from a 5-alarm blaze to a smoldering, manageable ember. Simultaneously, this silence functioned as a display of intimidating, sovereign power. In the modern NBA, a superstar's refusal to engage is often more threatening than his loudest protest. It creates a vacuum of uncertainty that can paralyze an organization. By not acknowledging the warning, LeBron subtly reframed it. He treated it not as a legitimate decree from his boss, but as an external distraction unworthy of his direct engagement. This communicated to the locker room, the fans, and the league that his focus and his authority remained anchored on the court, and that the owner's warning was a secondary concern to be managed, not a primary command to be obeyed. Finally, and most dangerously, it was a passive-aggressive test of wills. LeBron's silence forced the next move onto Jeanie Buss. Would she escalate? Would she follow through on the dire consequences she hinted at over a moment of silent noncompliance? By not responding, he called her bluff without saying a word. He was testing the true limits of her resolve, betting that the practical cost of suspending him or moving him would be too high, and that her warning was ultimately a tool for temporary control.
I look back and, the last time I saw Kobe alive was about a month before he passed, and he had brought Gigi to the Lakers game to see Luka play because Luka was Gigi's favorite player. And, it's just the idea that Luka is now a Laker. I know how.
Most people want to be responsible for your success, not a part of your success. And that's the issue amongst.
The seismic clash between owner and superstar did not exist in a vacuum. The shockwaves radiated outwards, fracturing the Lakers' locker room, reshaping the public narrative, and sending a chilling message to the entire NBA. Inside the team's sanctum, a silent, uneasy division took hold. Players were forced into an impossible, unspoken choice. One faction, likely containing veterans and those with the closest bonds to LeBron, privately understood his frustration with inconsistent performance and strategy, even if they winced at the public nature of the blow-up. Their allegiance, however quietly, leaned toward the teammate who controlled the game's flow and, by extension, their own success. Another, potentially larger, group was left demoralized and professionally adrift. They witnessed the blatant undermining of Coach Ham as an attack on the very structure and order they depend on. If the team's leader doesn't respect the chain of command, what is the foundation of their jobs? Trust in the coaching staff was critically wounded. These players now had to navigate a minefield, show any overt support for the coach and risk alienating the franchise centerpiece, or remain silent and become complicit in the erosion of their own workplace authority. The collective focus needed for a championship run was shattered, replaced by a tense, unspoken civil war where every interaction, every practice drill was loaded with unspoken political meaning. Externally, the Lakers' narrative underwent a catastrophic rewrite. The story was no longer, can LeBron and AD make one more run? It became Lakers in chaos, LeBron versus coach, owner versus king. The prestigious, legacy-driven Lakers brand was instantly recast in the public eye as the league's premier soap opera, a symbol of dysfunction and player-over-organization anarchy. This perception makes recruiting future free agents exponentially harder. What star, seeing this public power struggle and the undermining of coaching authority, would willingly sign up to enter that fray? The damage to the franchise's reputation as a stable, elite destination may be longer lasting than any single lost game. The league-wide precedent, a warning to all owners. Beyond Los Angeles, every owner and front office watched with rapt attention. Jeanie Buss's warning was not just to LeBron, it was a shot across the bow to every superstar who believes their talent grants them sovereignty over the franchise. Her actions demonstrated that there is a line, and that a determined owner, even when dealing with a legend, is willing to defend the sanctity of their organization's structure. For owners tired of being held hostage by star demands, Buss just became a pioneer. For players and powerful agents, it was a stark reminder that the ultimate
Initial thoughts of what comes next this summer for next season?
No, I just want to get home to the family, honestly. Start looking at the schedule. Obviously, I got, my son. One of my boys is just trying to decide if he's going to, enter the draft or go back to school. I got another kid that's playing AU ball right now. My daughter's playing volleyball, and my wife is doing so many great things. So it's about family right now.
The answer to the question everybody wants to know. LeBron, what's your decision?
We have now witnessed a point of no return. The crazy moment captured on camera and the shocking warning that followed have done more than define a tense Lakers season. They have etched a permanent, defining line across the legacy of LeBron James's tenure in Los Angeles and the modern era of superstar power. The carefully cultivated image of a harmonious partnership between LeBron and the Lakers, the homecoming hero restoring glory to a storied franchise, is irrevocably broken. It has been replaced by the cold, clear reality of a transactional and now contentious relationship. The warning from Jeanie Buss formalized what the Timeout exposed. This is a business arrangement with strict, non-negotiable terms. The love affair between player and city is now complicated by a very public prenuptial agreement drawn up by the owner. LeBron's legacy in purple and gold will forever include this chapter, the moment the institution pushed back against the king. Now, LeBron faces a defining choice for his final act. Does he submit to the new terms of the warning, publicly supporting the coach and operating within the re-established hierarchy, thereby preserving his Lakers chapter, but at the cost of his perceived sovereignty? Or does he reassert his sovereignty, either through a dramatic on-court takeover so undeniable it mutes all criticism, or by engineering an exit that frames him as the one leaving an ungrateful, restrictive franchise? His silence is the pause before that choice. His next move, whether a compliant huddle with Ham or a trade request, will be the answer. Ultimately, the Lakers reclaim their throne. Regardless of LeBron's choice, Jeanie Buss accomplished one monumental thing. She reclaimed the narrative that the Lakers as an institution are bigger than any one player. In an era where stars dictate terms, she reminded the basketball world that in Los Angeles there is still a throne, and it belongs to the franchise. The warning was a declaration of institutional independence. It said that the Laker way is not a marketing slogan to be discarded when inconvenient, but a living code that will be enforced, even upon its greatest modern avatar. The line has been drawn, the kingdom has been reminded of its true ruler, and the final, fascinating chapters of this dynasty story will be written under this new,